Hello and welcome to the Counselor New Feature Summary for August 2019. We'll begin by talking about EOB processing. If you had a chance to check out our recent Feature Friday, you'll know that this is a brand new feature that we're very excited about. It enables you to rapidly enter payments and adjustments for more than one patient, more than one invoice simultaneously. So let's go ahead and have a look at that. We'll start here in a patient profile. There's now a new option available called Add Patient, just above the list of invoices. When you click there, it'll start a process that will automatically default to insurance, although I should note that this process could also be used for taking multiple private pay payments as well. So if you had a patient who owed you $200 over 2 invoices, you, for example, could process a check, one check across those 2 invoices. So there are alternate uses for this system. But we're going to focus today on the insurance aspect. So we'll leave that as insurance. The patient's insurance will automatically show up. Let's go ahead and choose that. We're going to say that they received a check from Blue Cross Blue Shield, Massachusetts. Your QuickBooks status and anything you have there will automatically update as it would elsewhere in the system. So if it automatically sets to ready, it will do that for you straight away. If it automatically sets to not ready, that's the way it'll stay. You have the selection, of course, to add adjustments. In the case of insurance, very likely you're going to want to add adjustments. In the case of private pay, then you likely would have that unchecked. But let's go ahead and leave that checked. So now we'll go ahead and click Next. It'll show all the available invoices for this patient. Now, if the patient had multiple invoices, you'd see them all listed out here. In this case, there's just one. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put in the payment for this patient. So we're going to say it's a $100 payment, and this will be from insurance. Okay, so we'll save that payment. So at this point, that payment has already hit the invoice. So if we were to close out of this process and open that invoice, we'd see that $100 payment in place. We're going to go ahead, though, and add the adjustment. So we're going to say this is insurance contractual adjustment. Obviously, we could change the date. I'm going to leave these checked as well. That basically says we'll deduct the amount of the adjustment from the insurance responsibility. We're also going to say that we'll have any remaining amount become patient responsibility. Now, if this is a Medicare payment and you're expecting the secondary to kick in, you would not want this checked, right? You'd want to uncheck this for Medicare. But in the case of our example here, where we're looking at Blue Cross Blue Shield, very likely the remaining balance is going to be patient due at that point. All right, so let's go ahead and take the next step. Now we're going to see the line items on this specific invoice. Once again, if we had entered payments for multiple invoices, we would see all the line items for all the invoices here, and then you can go through rapid fire and update them. So we're going to go ahead and put in adjustments for these. So we're just focusing on the first 2 here. And once I go ahead and save this adjustment, that finalizes it. Now I've added my payment and adjustments for that invoice. But hey, I've got an EOB in front of me. I want to continue on. So I'm going to go ahead to the next patient. So let's look up the next patient on the list. There's Tom. And we'll start the process again. Except for this time, it'll be even faster because it's already selected the insurance. It's already entered the check information, right? Now I can just kind of cruise through. Same idea. Here's the invoice. Let's go ahead and enter the payment here. Okay, now we've saved the payment. Now it's already selected the insurance contractual option here. We'll leave those checked. Because in this case, as far as like the patient having an amount due, we're actually going to leave a little bit extra, right? So we're going to say that the patient still owes from this. So the patient's going to owe $10 out of this whole process. So once I save that once again, I'm all set. I can go on to the next patient. So you can see how very quick that can be when you're going from patient to patient. If we want to look up, of course, what happened here, we can see that now for Gail, the insurance amount due is 0. If we look up the other patient that we are working with, we'll see that there is an amount due for him still. And there it is. There's the $10 that's still due. So once again, this can be a very quick process of updating multiple invoices across multiple patients with payments and adjustments. All right. So let's go ahead and look at the next option here, or next update. So we've added a billable option on the patient visit screen, and this is specifically, lets you track whether or not that visit should be billable. Okay, let's give 2 examples here. If this was a billable audio, right, just an audio that we're going to send off a claim to Medicare on behalf of the patient, for example, of course we would leave it as billable. If this was a no-charge cleaning check, then we would uncheck. So let's have a look at that. Let's go ahead and jump into Mindy's profile here, or into Mindy's visit, I should say. So Mindy had a clean and check. We've already created the chart note. We've done some work there. Let's jump back to the main screen here on the General Information tab. We can see in the super bill area, there is now a billable checkbox. Okay, for those of you who create invoices for super bills and invoices for every single visit, that's great. That's great practice. You don't change a thing, right? You would still mark everything as billable. The reason that's done, of course, is to be able to track all of your no-charge visits and have some more general tracking behind the scenes. But for those of you who say, hey, I just want to create super bills and invoices for instances where I need to, and other instances I don't want to, right? In that case, for this no charge clean and check, I would simply uncheck billable and save. And as we're going to see in a moment, when you're then doing tracking for the appointment life cycle, it lets you see where you may have missed something or where everything's just fine. Okay, and in fact, let's look at that next. So we're going to look at the appointment lifecycle summary. Now, we did announce this release on our last updates, but now we've enhanced that. So we've added more areas, including the billable visit section, right, and some other drop downs. So let's have a look at that. Under business, we're going to click on lifecycle summary. Once again, there's a variety of ways you can look at this. You could break it down by appointment type, by date range. In fact, let's narrow that date range just a little bit here. And then I'm going to go ahead and run this report. Okay, now it shows me all of the appointments during that time and what happened. So there's Mindy's that we just created for hearing aid check. The visit, the appointment status is completed. The visit status is complete. We note it is not billable. So there's nothing really downstream from that. As we go to the right, you can see there's a whole bunch of other information regarding invoice info and claim info, but it didn't apply because nothing was billable for Mindy. But let's take another example while we're in this screen. Let's look at Kim's. Kim had audio eval. They need to complete the appointment and complete their report, but as we go right to left, we can see yes, it is billable. Yes, a super bill was created. Yes, there was a invoice created. Is a claim required? Yes. And was it created? Yes. And who was the payer? And what happened from there? Now, all my claims fail, so that wouldn't be the case for you. But the point is anyone on staff here, or designated people on staff, could go into this area and look for highly specific things that you want to track. What are scenarios where, we have an appointment, right, and a visit and everything that's supposed to be claimed, or supposed to go into claim, but never did? Right? Let's catch that right now. Here's an example. We're supposed to have a claim for this one, but it was never created. Or where we have something that's billable, but we never created a super bill. Or a super bill, but never an invoice. You can start imagining all the different times in your practice where those little things, slip through the cracks. That's why we have, checklists where we tape them to the top of paper charts and things. So people are checking things off as they go through the process. Well, that's only as good as honestly, the overall workflow and the likelihood of that tape slipping off the, paper chart. This allows you to have a very objective place where you can go in and see what's happened for these appointments. And then beyond that, you can filter further. So if you just say, hey, I have one scenario, I want to find all of the invoices that are claimable where we didn't create a claim yet. Right? Real simple. Then counselor will kind of focus in on this case, bad example, there wasn't anything there, but you can zoom in and see that information very quickly, right? So super bills without invoices, there's probably a couple here. Here we go. So the point is you can see that very quickly and then take action right there from there. You can click in, go into that patient profile, review, add any updates, and come back to the screen and rerun your reports. Okay, let us know if you have any questions about the appointment lifecycle, because we feel like this also is a very powerful tool that can help you catch things before they fall through the cracks, of course. All right, so then we'll look at, last but not least, new widgets. So we have some new widgets here. Basically, it enable you to track a lot of the communication that comes out of the system. So whether we're talking about emails, text messages, or call messaging, this will enable you to see those messages across the board. So for these emails, I can see that Jim's bounced. These all failed, and that's because we're sending them to fake email addresses, right? Because this is our test account. But the same thing goes for text messages. But you can see this, right? So more often you would have successes right across the board. You'd be able to see, for example, an email that the patient opened it, right, and it was read, and that texts were, delivered successfully. But some, oops, failed, and that lets lets us know right away that, hey, we need to contact Tim in a different way. If I hover over his name, I can see the actual number there, and no, of course, that's a fake number. Okay, so please let us know if you have any questions about any of these changes and updates. Please keep the ideas coming. You can reach out to, of course, reach out to us by email, call us, live chat us. We're always happy to help. So thank you so much for joining us for the new feature summary for August 2019.